Good morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke and weirdly I'm a couple minutes late this morning. I just looked at the clock. It was 6:58 and I'm like, oh good, I'm on time. I'm getting everything organized and I've been up since 4:30, so it's kind of weird. Good morning, Pat. Good morning, Joanne. And hello, Sam. Good morning. Good morning / afternoon. It's just weird that I was 2 minutes late because I turned around, it was 6:58, and now I'm like at 7:02, 7:03. I'm like, what? How did it get to be a couple minutes late? But I did sort of manage to pull everything together because I realized it was a few minutes before, and I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta get everything, my light set up, me set up, everything. I think I have it down to a science at this point, more or less. Morning, Suda. So we have... and of course the fringe is misbehaving this morning. Probably means it's time for a trim. But it's interesting. Big difference between yesterday and today. Yesterday, when I got up, I was kind of starting a headache. It wasn't too bad for the live stream. But then as the day progressed, it was so bad. And I just felt so sick to my stomach yesterday. And I had... So last night, those of you who were in the ISFM and were at Kate's class, which really was really good. I mean, as you can see, Kate is really passionate about the subject, particularly of the rights of women and so forth in Mexico and so forth, and the way that they're treated. So that was a really... I mean, when I saw she had like 81 slides, I was like, oh my goodness, is she going to get through all of those in 2 hours? But she did. And I did recall afterwards thinking to myself, because she was talking what she had said about Jung and the mother archetype, and apologies for those of you who were not in that class, but basically she talks about both Jung and Freud as creating kind of bad impressions of mothers, and I'm like, well, no, and I wasn't thinking clearly. You might have seen me. Yes, it was fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, she's really good. And I kept putting ice on the side of my head because I was in pain. And apologies, by the way, to everybody for that last minute, because I was sitting there, Kate hadn't come on yet, and then all of a sudden it was like I had 3 requests, and the way Zoom works is it's not open in a web browser, so I can't. Blown away. Yeah, she's amazing. And good morning, Melissa. Kate, she had what was it? She didn't come on till like 6:25, and then like I had to, in order to get the link for everybody from Zoom, it was like on my phone it's almost impossible to get the link once you started the live stream. It won't let you copy the link. So I had to go back. I had to try to copy it to another page of stuff that I had so that I could save it, open it up on my phone, copy it, and send it to people. Because she's like, oh, just WhatsApp it to yourself. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't always quite work that way. But I finally got the link to everybody because, I mean, I think some people thought it was the last link. But the reason it wouldn't be the links for Joanna Madlock is because basically I do specific links per class. So in other words, if somebody paid for the one class and didn't pay for this one, you wouldn't want them to just be able to come on to this one. I mean, everybody who was on last night is full-term people. But and I wasn't particularly worried about that, but that was why I would do it separately. So, but when I said it's the same link, I think a lot of people just thought, oh, it's Joanna's link. So what I think I'm going to do next time is I'm going to keep a copy of that link. Oh, no worries. Everything went great. Very much enjoyed it. Good. Yeah. Well, that's just it. Yeah. It was just one of those initial kind of like, flurries that I was trying to get through and trying to get through it with this pounding headache. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? So next time what I'm going to do is for the Monday class, what I'm going to do is send the link Monday morning. And then that way it's at like kind of near the top of everybody's email. It's like right there. And I'll put a nice big subject line. Even though I am also going to put it in the ISFM student group, which is where the other link was. Then I will, that way I'll just make sure everybody's on the same page for Monday. So then there's no, so then nobody has to hunt around for it. So yesterday was just a whack day. Well, yeah, and for me it was one of those days where that retrograde energy, I couldn't get a lot done. Today is the complete and total opposite. I am like, I'm in this mode where, honestly, I think it was, this is the kind of mode that made me initially start these live streams, because typically early in the morning, that's when my brain, it's not just that I'm trying to get organized and planned for my day, but that it's like, that's when all of the thoughts, like I sat there at 4:30 this morning outlining what I'm going to do for my Hecate Persephone presentation next Wednesday. And I just started making lists. I just started doing all of these things. Good morning, April. So I have all of this stuff, and I just like this morning is the total opposite of yesterday. I have too many words this morning. It's like Mercury has taken over. I have too many words. I do know there's a moon in Leo today, but I just yeah, for whatever reason, yesterday I was completely out of it, and today I'm kind of with it. But I was starting to say what Kate was saying about the mother archetype. A lot of times there's a mistake saying that when Jung talks about the mother archetype and about types of mothers, I mean, he does kind of apply it that way, so there is kind of a fair critique there. But the mother archetype, we need to remember, is not the actual mother. It's what we project. It's the idea, that kind of unconscious idea about the mother that we project onto mothers, which is frequently why mothers find that they can't meet the expectation, in some way they don't meet the expectations of their children, because nobody ever lives up to an archetype. The same would be true of other archetypes as well. Soul archetypes, father archetypes also probably don't live up to as well, although it's understood that there's a lot of burden on the mother. But I'm going to talk more about that in my class on Wednesday. So what was I going to mention today? I had so many things. I actually made myself a list. One of the things I was thinking about in terms energetically this morning is that like I said, I was very low energy yesterday. I'm extremely high energy today. And so I intend to do a lot of things today, even though part of me is like, okay, well, I should take a break, right? I should slow down. And we are in a period of slowing down. But it's almost kind of like the way in which you, one of the things is go with the flow. And I got a very funny Azrael message this morning. What was it? It was, Ilsni so, it wasn't cores, it's another word. Ilsni so see Zildar, I think is what it is. Yeah, that was the phrase. And that literally, that's literally like the way the angels say, go with the flow, baby. It's literally almost literally what that phrase means. And so it's like if you're surfing and you catch that big wave, it's like just go with it. And I think when we're trying to talk about balance, which has been a topic we've been talking about quite a lot recently, is how do we keep ourselves in balance when there's a lot of unexpected things going on, when there's big shifts, when there's shakeups. I think a lot of it is just it's go with the flow. That's why I think they're saying go with the flow, because there's going to be days when your energy's low, and those are days when you shouldn't do as much. There's going to be days when your energy is high, and those are the days when you should do a lot, right? Now, if we know about human design, and anybody who's had a life path chart with me has had at least a human design component to it. And one of the things that we do think about is the idea of the generator. Okay, that's one of the major types. It's about 80% of the human population is a generator or manifesting generator in human design. And generators are, unlike projectors and reflectors, are very, very high energy people. They're people who are kind of like worker bees, kind of like to do stuff all the time. And I remember a long time ago when I went to my Vedic astrologer, he had said to me, he had done a little human design component for me as well. And he said, energetically, generators are people who will kind of run and run and run and run, and then they suddenly get tired and they crash for 3 days. Okay. And he says, and that's really the cycle you need to go with. Now, you say that, and that seems to be contrary to everything that we've talked about, we need to pace ourselves. We need to do a little bit each day. We need to do things a little at a time. But I think I find part of I find this, maybe you find this as well. Part of the reason I think that we have an issue with that is because we're not going with what our own cycle is. And that was kind of the point of human design. That's me, manic generator. Yeah, me too. And I have slowed down in my old age, but it's still, when I have these moments, it's like I could do like 50 things in a day. And then I feel super accomplished at the end of the day. I'm like, yay, look at everything I did. But it's one of those things where I don't know. Those are the periods where we can bite off more than we can chew, when we can overburden ourselves, when we get in that 10 of Wands territory. And, you know, it's, Alex says, I'm a reflector, so everything takes a long time, slow pace. Okay, so yeah, so that's a different space to be in. And I think that's important to know, though, is kind of what is your energetic space? Because I think part of the reason we get frustrated, part of the reasons we get very, very worried and anxious a lot of times from day to day, oh, this thing hasn't been done yet. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. You know, is that we are, okay, the externals of our life don't always seem to line up with where our energy is. That's kind of the thing. Energetically, we don't, you know, we're not, okay, our lives may demand that we get certain things done by certain deadlines. We have certain things that we have to do on certain days. You know, and oftentimes too, I'm also finding it's not the big things that I have to do. It's the little things that I have to do. I was looking at WhatsApp. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got like 3 hours worth of messages to listen to, because, you know, people have left me a bit longer messages, and I'm like, I need to catch up with these things. Just little things, like I had to get, you know, accounts paid out for Cotonia Books yesterday, and I had to get, you know, just, and all this stuff takes like 5 minutes. It's not that big of a deal. But somehow when you think you have all this time, all those little 5-minute segments just get filled up with stuff. And before you know it, you're like, holy crap, I thought I was going to have more time than this, you know? But here's the thing too. I think there's something to be thought of with this as we are moving out of the space. But it adds up. Joanne says, yes, that's absolutely right. Yes, it all adds up. And I just feel like this may be the lesson for one of the lessons at the end of Capricorn. Now, at the end of Pluto in Capricorn, I should say. Now, one of the things about Capricorn, okay, and Gina Devine posted something the other day that made me think about this. And she's not the only one. I've seen it in a couple of other places too. Where there's a discussion, we've been talking a lot about the negative effects of Capricorn, right? The way in which we may, you know, be slaves to work, and the way in which we have no work-life balance, things like that. But we also tend to forget that Capricorn also has some good things that we don't want to throw away. The lessons of Capricorn are the good things that we take away from that period of time. It's not just about, you know, oh, okay, whoa, we're out of the Pluto and Capricorn now. Now we all can just coast, and there's no work to be done. That I think sometimes there's almost a feeling of that, because if we feel like we've been working very hard at something, like we need that break. Capricorn is telling us, you know, that the kind of negative side of Capricorn, if we want to refer to it that way, can be pointing out to us that, like, whoa, life is not all work. There's times when you do need to slow down. There's times when you need balance, when you need to just take time out to enjoy nature, smell the flowers, you know, whatever it is you need to do. But that doesn't also mean that we're not going to be working hard at stuff. It's just that when we work hard, you want to approach it with the attitude of play. It's not that we don't, you know, we don't want to stop working, you know. Sam says, as a Capricorn with heavy Capricorn stellium, I'm always sad people forget that Capricorn is an incredibly esoteric energy. Yes, it's Saturn ruled, and there's a lot of wisdom in Capricorn. There's a tremendous amount of wisdom, and I think we don't want to forget that as we focus on all the things that can be, like anything that's taken to an extreme where it can be a difficulty. So I feel like, yeah, there's been a lot of talk about, I'm hearing a lot in the different quarters about hard work. And one of the areas I've been hearing about this is in the creative fields. Again, I think I mentioned this briefly yesterday. I was watching a video about this band called Hail Darkness, which, boy, the guy with the video, it was Pale Wizard Records. It's a guy who does his own record production. He has his own company and so forth. And I got onto that channel because there was a whole chain of events that got me watching. I don't watch that channel all the time, but but the videos were coming up in my feed. And he said, you know, Hail Darkness is darker than you think. And I was like, oh, that's an intriguing tagline. I'm hooked. So I went and looked at it. And he had pointed out, as I think I mentioned yesterday, that the entire band, turns out, it's an experiment in AI generation, right? And they're trying to say like, oh, but curating the AI pieces, that's really, that's hard work and so forth. And he's like, bollocks, it's not hard work. It's not hard work. He's like, when we think about music, it's kind of like, okay, good musicians are the ones who have to practice a lot, right? If you want to learn to play an instrument, or you want to learn to sing, or you want to do something, you have to practice to get good at it. A lot of times, because we have a very impatient streak, we want to be good at something as soon as we start doing it. Like, when we start painting, we want to start out by being, Frida Kahlo or Picasso or, so whoever we admire, right? We want to immediately start out with being the best. And we're not. We don't. You have to, when you're at the beginning of something, oh yes, yeah, right. I mean, we've all done it. And then when we find that it takes a lot of work, sometimes if we're not really invested in it, we walk away from it. We give up on it. And, but if you are invested in it, then you need to take the time. And I think a lot of problem that creatives have with AI is not only that it tries to shortcut everything, and it's a shortcut that's been created, no comment. It's a shortcut that's been created because we have, in this kind of work, because of money. It's really been a shortcut that's created because of money. Time is money, right? And so, like record companies, the reason that they make someone go in, sing one take, and then just pitch correct the living what out of everything, and which, of course, by the way, they think, oh, look, it's all to perfect pitch. It's great. I'm like, no, this person sounds like a robot and not a human being. You can hear it if you really listen. If you've never been exposed to anything else, you might not know that. But but the reason a lot of times we'll say like, well, the music of the 60s, 70s, and earlier maybe is great is because those people can actually sing. Once we get, and even the 80s really, once you start getting past to the point where you have auto-tune and pitch correction, which is late 90s, and now, of course, by the way, they're going back and trying to pitch correct old stuff. They're ruining Queen's catalog with pitch correcting Freddie Mercury and all this stuff. And I'm like, you do not need to pitch correct Freddie Mercury. I mean, Freddie Mercury sounds awesome, But there's a lot of this stuff going on because they think it's more perfect. And producers aren't actually listening to the songs. They're just dragging things to, oh, here's where standard pitch is on this computer. I'm just going to drag it to here. The other thing, too, is AI generation, where people, basically, though, the problem with that, as I've said, is that you're just cannibalizing other people's music. You're not, or art, or whatever. And Chris Cornell, yes, they're doing it with everybody. And it's like, you don't want to get to a world where you no longer can hear the voice because there's different inflections in the human voice. Your imperfection is part of the perfection. You know what I mean? The fact that something is not dead on perfect, if everything sounded dead on perfect on the same pitch every time, it's scripted every single time, you'd be bored out of your mind. It's almost an experience of living. It's like basically human life being lived through the eyes of a machine, really. It's what is perfection? And a lot of times we decide we want to get to that. And a lot of it not only comes because of people wanting to save money, which I've been told, but also because it's a lot of hard work. Well, yeah, I mean, I like I said, we don't seem to, and it doesn't just have to do with creative stuff. Anything that we've learned takes time. And a lot of times we think that machines are going to shortcut it for us and say like, oh, now, that we can do it. The machines can do all of that kind of hard work for us too. And the problem is that for you to really, okay, we talk about life not having a purpose. Okay, in the broadest sense of the world. Of the word, I should say, world and word, I guess. In the broadest sense of things, like what is the meaning of a flower? What is the meaning of a flea, as Joseph Campbell said? Those things, it's not like they have a meaning, okay? But our lives, with our consciousness, part of what drives the joy in our lives is having some kind of what we consider a purpose or an identity. Something that we identify with, something that's authentic to us, that comes from the heart that we want to express. Whatever that is. For some people, like they love having children and that's the expression of their heart and what they're doing. Some people like to go outside and garden and keep all their grounds and do all of that. Some people like to paint. Some people like to write. Some people like to... everybody has a thing that they express. Some people just enjoy helping others. Some people... We all have things that are expressions that make us feel good and that make us feel connected and that make us feel like our life is, worth getting out of bed for, right? We all have these things that we do. And if you're going to sell all of those kinds of things out, these things that take work that we can be proud of, that we can say, I worked at this, I achieved this. And again, not to... It goes back to the thing that one of my mentors used to say in undergrad. He wasn't my closest mentor, but he was the department chair where I was. And one of the things Michael used to say was he went to grad school. He learned, for religious studies, and he was more of a Jewish theologian. I mean, he did more theology, both Christian and Jewish theology, and I think he was Jewish, but like he went to Catholic church. I don't know. He was an interesting dude. He died this past year, and one of the things that he had said to me when I was in grad school was he says, yeah, I finished Syracuse. He says, I was hired here. He says, and I've never worked a day since, Now, he did a lot of work. He was the department chair. He had to organize things. He did stuff. But he loved what he was doing. This was where he was in his element. He could sit and talk with students, and he could pontificate in the way that only he was able to do. We had a lot of really great people in that department who were just really great teachers. And, so that's what he did. He was like, no, he says, when you're doing what you really love, you don't work a day in your life. And that's the thing. It's kind of this why I think there's this push towards authenticity, but this doesn't mean that there's not going to be work. I think that's sometimes why the quote unquote laziness card comes up too. I don't think that any of us are lazy. I think everybody is works hard at what they're doing or has a lot of things in life. We have a lot of distractions in life too. But when your heart is in the thing that you want to do, then you are... I mean, you could be working long hours. Like I could be doing the stuff I'm doing for 14 hours. But if it's what I really love doing, the things I hate doing are like doing accounting and having to, I don't know, just having to do certain things that are just not what I'm super good at. And those are the things I wish I had the money to farm out to somebody. But Sam, it's almost like the act of discipline, work, and devotion is all part of life and art. Saturn. Yes, and that is exactly the point. That discipline, self-discipline, and this kind of structure that we create, and this process of learning by dint of long-term effort, of being patient with the process, that's what Saturn actually teaches us. And that is and that is important because what it leads to in the long run is something that is infinitely more satisfying than if we slap something out really quick. That we just kind of throw together. I mean, we all have times when we throw stuff together, and sometimes we do really great at winging it. I'm not going to say that never happens. Sometimes we wing it and go, wow, that was pretty good. But when we feel that it's going to take too much time and we're just too busy to put the effort in, that's where I think the balance has to come in. Where's your hard work going to go? Where's your discipline going to go? Now, yeah, we all have day-to-day responsibilities. We all have to live life. We all have to, we have to pay the bills. We all have to do the laundry and the dishes and all that fun stuff. Those are all the things that I think, really in a certain sense they are automated. When I think about it, when I go and I do the laundry, I'm thinking like, wow, like when my mom was a kid, she was out there with the wash tub and the scrub and the scrubbing board, and just out doing that. That used to be doing laundry, A lot of people, I don't happen to have a dishwasher, but a lot of people, they had to pump water and then heat it up. And, we actually take a lot of that for granted now. But the thing is, then we fill our lives with a lot of other things, and we get ourselves overwhelmed and that's the other thing too, when we get overwhelmed, then when the mind overwhelms us and says, now you start doing one thing, it's like, no, I got to do 100 things, this is where we get ourselves exhausted, and then, we say like, well, I got up today and I had this to-do list, and then I just sat down and, I don't know, watched Netflix instead, whatever. And again, that happens to us too. But I think it's almost like trying to figure out, tuning into what your rhythm is, okay, which is not always an easy thing to do because it's not always as predictable as we would like it to be. But that can also be where discipline can come in too. One of the things they say in writing as a discipline is that the days that you are not inspired to just write something, write anything for like 20 minutes, just to be in the habit of writing. Okay, you just want to, you just want to be in the habit of doing it, even if what you write is total crap and you never do anything with it. That was something like when we were writing our dissertations. That's what our the people who were trying to coach us along in getting the writing done were trying to say. What was it? Ginny? She used to say, just set a timer for 20 minutes and just write something down. Or she said, just research something. Research some thread that you have. Like just spend 20 minutes like in the library section looking for stuff. Just spend time doing something, and then if you don't get a whole lot of other stuff done, don't put on yourself, oh, I have to finish it all today. Like that's another thing that we do is it's like we look at the project and we're like, oh, it's all got to get done right now, and so it's like so Saturn teaches us patience, it teaches us discipline. It can be a step-by-step thing, but it's also about paying attention to what our actual cycles are. So for somebody like Alex, if you're a reflector or if you're a projector, you're somebody who, you're more have to be in the flow of where other people's energy is. And frequently, reflectors and projectors are people who need to go slow and take a break. I've had clients like that. It's very interesting doing Reiki on projectors because I feel like they are, like I'm working on them and I'm like, wow, it's like they're either cold or they're very, like there's just something in their energy. Like when I'm doing the Reiki, it's like it's sucking the Reiki out of my hand. It's not, because normally it kind of has this kind of warming effect on the body, but instead I feel like it's like sucking it out, and you're just like, and I remember I had that with a client once, and I said to her, I said, I don't want to get, I hadn't done charts or anything. I said, I don't want to get personal, but can I just would you mind if I took your birth date information? Because I just wanted to see what our human design chart. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Because she needed, I must be a projector. Well, we can actually look at that, Pat, next time we meet up, because I have your regular birth chart, so I can tell you what type you are. But projectors and reflectors tend to need more of a break. I think I had worked with a woman once who had, she was a tarot client, and she was like a vice president at some huge pharmaceutical company, and and she, so she has to be on call 24/7, and people were calling her. And I did her life path, and I was like, oh my God, you're a projector, and you're doing this kind of work. Because she's just like, yeah, I'm sick all the time. I'm exhausted because I can't be up at 3 a.m. I'm like, no, you actually can't, So, good morning. So yeah, it's just, I'm an enigma. Well, truthfully, Joanne, you probably still could get close enough to figure out what your type is. Because I know lack of birth time is an issue for a lot of people, but there's a lot of absorbing of energy takes a lot of time. Alex, yeah. So it is different, and I think part of the human design thing too is that we're trying to recognize that not everybody's like us. When you always say like, well, the people who always like, well, I worked hard and I worked 20 hours a day and I did this. Not everybody's capable of doing that, and it's not because they're lazy. Everybody has to go with what their own rhythm is. Okay. But everything gets done at the pace that that your body and that your whole energetic system can handle. And some people, like I said, the generators, it's like, okay, go, and then crash out and like, don't talk to me for 2 days, I'm in bed. So, that's kind of the way it goes. Of course, we sometimes still continue to push ourselves, but I find that when I have low energy days that it's like, okay, I'm just going to pick out like one or two things that I must get done, even if they only take 5-10 minutes, and then the rest of the day we'll see how it goes. I do tend to do things like that. What was I going to say? Yeah, I was talking about this, and and the other thing I was going to mention too, and this is another problem that people can sometimes have. Certainly, it's a problem I have right now, and that is when you do one thing. Like people who follow me on Facebook. I don't think I've posted this yet to Instagram, and I would like to, but I redid the front porch of my house, and it's cute. I did like purple and blue stencils in the front. My house is blue with purple shutters, and it's got white trim. My kitchen door is royal blue, and my front door is royal blue, but there's a screen door in front of it. So I did the repainting of the front threshold. I had power washed the front porch, which is only a small thing. And I repainted everything. I didn't repaint the top, but I repainted the posts and everything because they were starting to look kind of ratty. So I scraped and I repainted all that. And then I decided when it dried that I was going to put these stencils on the front. And they're really pretty. And there's one of them I'm looking at, I'm like, it's kind of upside down. I'll probably paint over and redo that one because it doesn't take that long to do. It's just, with painting, it's just a mess of opening everything up and, getting it together. And we are going to have another warm day, I think, next week, so maybe next Wednesday. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll try to run out and just do like an hour of painting. But now it's like, I'm like, okay, I power washed the foundation and that needs repainting. And now that needs, like, you do one thing, you replace one thing or you do one thing, and now, like, that thing looks good, and now, like, everything else looks off. So you're like, I have to do everything else now. I'm like, no, now I got to repaint the whole house. Now I've got to do the whole, and it's ridiculous because I know realistically I don't have time to do that between now and the start of winter. I wanted to repaint my basement doors. I thought I had the right paint, but I don't. And I was like, oh crap, now I gotta, so there's all kinds of stuff. Ah, yes, the threshold opens. Yeah, exactly. I remember one of the Swamis, Swami Ramakrishna, one of Amma Swamis had said that because he says, yeah, you go in and you paint the walls of your house, and then all of a sudden you're like, the carpet doesn't look right, and then yes, oh my God, why am I like that? I think we all are, because it's kind of when we see something is A, that we accomplished it, and B, that it's shiny and new. We look at it and we're like, oh wow, oh wait, but now that looks wrong. You know what I mean? Like it's this constant cycle that we go through. I don't know. I also feel like my guides are preparing me to do as much as I can, because I have a feeling this house will be on the market sometime in the spring. I could be wrong about that, but because timing is not something you can ever guarantee. But I almost feel like I'm cleaning up and cleaning out because I'll be selling it and hopefully moving where I want to move. So, I mean, this house is nice. I do love it, but I have to get rid of my attachment to it. So what else did I have? Well, I'm going to do our reading now. And I also wanted to mention for people in intuitive development, I just checked the website for my town. And yes, they are doing trick-or-treating on Sunday from 3 to 6. So when we do our session, I'm going to be doing it down in my kind of living room area. So that because the thing is, I don't... It's not like I can just not take trick-or-treaters because I have nowhere to hide in my house, really. It's like the car's there, everything's there. And to be fair, a lot of the kids, they don't know me because I don't have kids in school or anything. But wait, there's more gremlin in my head. Yep, exactly. Like, we do one thing, and then it's like, now we've got to do all of it. It's like, well, I did this little piece, now I've got to do the whole thing. So intuitive development, our last class, I may have some interruptions with trick-or-treaters, but usually it's not very many. So anyway, just a heads up, because I think everybody, is it everybody? Yeah, I think everybody in intuitive development is on the live stream this morning. So, we're gonna keep it free and easy for the last class. So, but just speaking of going with the flow, ooh, we're gonna get to see little ghoulies. Well, maybe. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see them from there, because the front door is kind of over there. Maybe you're gonna more hear them than see them. And that reminded me, I said I haven't bought Halloween candy yet, mainly because if it was in the house, I would eat it all. So, so I'm going to wait to do that. I'm going to carve my pumpkin tonight, too. That's on my to-do list. So, all right, so let's see what our reading is. And I have not carved my pumpkin yet, by the way, because I figured if I did it too early, like either the squirrels would get into it and eat the whole thing before Halloween, or they would absolutely, or it would just be rotten by then. So I'm trying to have it out there for the actual thing. Yes, it's going to be. It always. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this tradition of we're going to do Halloween on Sunday. I guess it's more convenient for having an established time for people who work or people who are not going to be around to say, okay, I know that between this time, to be there, or maybe to not be home if they don't want to be home. Like I have my friend Dave is like that. He's just kind of like, I think he carved a jack-o'-lantern one year that said F off and put it in his window. I was like, yeah, you're nice. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, in some places it's not, but in New Jersey it's very, very common. They do it everywhere. And my sister said in her town it's supposed to be on Halloween, but it was never a thing when I was growing up. And now some of the towns, I don't know. I don't know what the rationale is. I don't know if they've had certain issues or if people have complained about things, but why can't we just go with the flow? We have to control everything. Well, yeah, and that's that's the other side of it. Is that everything has to be scheduled and under control. Think about it. Think about when you were a kid. A lot of us, given the age group we're in, when you were a kid, it was like you were free range, Your mom would kick you out of the house when I was a kid, it was a weekday. It didn't bother. Right. Yeah, I mean, you're a free range kid. Saturday morning, as soon as the noise ordinance was passed, my mom would be like, "All right, go outside and don't come back until lunchtime, and then come back by the 5 o'clock whistle on the firehouse so that you're home for dinner. And if you're not, I'm going to whip your ass." But that was kind of the way that I grew up. I still live with my aunt. She still tells me to go outside. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's definitely. There wasn't this idea, like I have heard of people having DIFUS called on them which is the family services, because their kids are out in the backyard playing by themselves and their mother's not standing over them supervising them. They call up, "We're going to schedule a play date between these two people." No, you didn't. You just walked down the street, you knocked on your friend's door and said, "Hey, can you come out and play?" Like, that's not a thing anymore in a lot of places. And that's it's unfortunate, I think. And people say, "Oh, well, it's a different world now." And I don't really believe that it is. I believe the kids are more connected now to their parents than ever. Kids have phones and stuff, and really just teaching people that they have to kind of stay in this box and be afraid of the world all the time, I don't think is such a... I mean, okay, I'm not a parent, and I know friends who are parents who try to tell me that, but that's really 90s. I love it. Joanne, it's separation. Yeah, and to me, it's like, at some point, well, that gets into the whole subject of psych development and how separation takes place. Your mom tracked you like a ninja. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, not my mom. My mom was just, but she would just get very mad at me if I broke any of the rules. So yeah, and I walked to school. It wasn't like I had somebody walking with me. I walked from my house. It was like a mile to school. Sam said, "I heard a therapist say this exact thing you're talking about, and they say it's causing social anxiety and disassociation." Yes, because we have convinced ourselves that this world is so terrible. I think this is another reason, too. Maybe we're moving into a space where we see our neighbors as supportive and not as our enemy, Well, my parents had no idea where I was. Yeah, frequently my parents didn't either. We get on our bikes and go places, and then you'd run into the kids up the street and go, "Hey, you want to go check this thing out in the woods? There's like this house out here." Like, my mother probably would have freaked out if she knew what stuff that I was doing as a kid and as a teenager as well. But because I always had like good grades and never really got in trouble in school, I think my mother was just like, I was her fifth child. She's like, "Yeah, whatever." It just kind of got to that point. But okay, our reading for today. Exactly, the agenda of separation and fear. Yes, and biking and the woods. Yeah, my brother used to take me out to the woods all the time. I mean, he would. It was funny. I mean, really, it was between him, not really my oldest sister, but my brother, who was closest to me in age, was the one who would tell me about all this stuff. It's like, "Oh, so has mom ever told you about this? Like, has mom told you about sex? Has mom told you about that?" It's just like, no. And then he'd be like, "Well, you know what?" Like, it would just be like, not like in any kind of creepy way. He was just like, when we would talk about different things, or if he was he was a teenager by then talking about his own things. Of course, he had come out to me as gay at that point too. But he was when they talked about these different things, it was like, "Oh, you know what mom didn't tell you?" Because my siblings were all way older than me. Same always woods and parks until whenever. Yeah. And we had lots of woods around then, too. Not everybody does. They've cut a lot of things down and put these houses on these lots that are oversized. But now I'm starting to sound like that person on the rocking chair on the porch. "Well, back in my day, it was like this. And we walked to school, bare feet, up hills, both ways, in 10 feet of snow. And you kids have it so much easier." Yeah, yeah. But, well, actually, no, I don't think kids now have it easier. I think kids now have it's much harder. So... because they have been taught to exist in this box. And then I hate to use the animal analogy again, but it really was so different though. But do they care? I don't know. Well, certainly the mindset was very different then, or what we consider to be the cultural conventional wisdom seems to be different. I told my mom I'm sleeping at a friend's house and walk all night over the city. I've done that. Where we want to go someplace and then we're like, oh yeah, but we're just going here. I'm just going to be at so-and-so's house. And, nobody ever questions it. So, which I suppose could be good or bad depending, but, from the parents' point of view. But in any case, I just think that, I think that this trying to keep people in a box, I think about when you think about animals, okay? If you take a dog or you take a certain animal and that animal is kept like confined or on a leash and it can't move all day, or certain things, the way that traumatizes the animal. And oftentimes they're rescued if they've just been like, in a lot where they're on a chain that only lets them go this far and they just have to sit there all day like in the hot sun. Things like that. There's different things that can traumatize you about kind of being boxed in. And I just, but again, this is normal, and it always amazes me that the parents who are doing this are people from my generation, people who I knew she trusted. Well, that's it too. If they think, oh, you're with so-and-so, and I know so-and-so's parents, so it's fine, But I think not allowing risk again. So this is why I think as adults, we're taught that everybody else is the enemy and that, you're not allowed to take risks. Not all of us grew up that way, but there were also certain ideas about what you were supposed to be as a grown-up in society too. So anyway, I better get on to my reading here. Our first card is the burden, literally what I'm just talking about, right? The idea that you don't need to carry, when you're prioritizing your life, you don't need to carry other people's stuff, right? So as we're working hard, it's like, what is it that you love? What is it you enjoy? Not what other people tell you you're supposed to be doing or how you're supposed to live your life. Really lucky to be here today, my poor mom. Yeah, this is this. Our inner feeling of which we're unaware, our connection to other people, right? We are the world. And also this is a card of legacy. Speaking of Capricorn, this is the 10 of Pentacles, and it's a very 10th house card, because to me, this is about, what is it that you are going to do? What's your legacy? What are you leaving behind in the world, right? This is what we're unaware of. And that's the thing that I think a lot of times we're trying to get to. We do a certain amount of our psych development trying to fit in socially, which is, I think, normal, when we're graduating high school, going to college, or not, or whatever it is we're doing as when we go into adulthood or even out of our teen years. Then we get to a point where it's like, okay, what is it? Who am I really? What is the thing? What do I want to express with my voice? What is the thing? What is the thing that authentically makes me feel alive? What is the thing that I'm going to share with others, right? Amen, right? And the external feeling of which we are aware is the new vision card, okay? That there's more, I think that there's an awareness. This is a hangman card, but there's an awareness that, first of all, hangman has to do with sacrifice, right? What is it that we need to give up? What is it we need to drop? But also being able to see the bigger picture, right? Being able to see the bigger space that we're in. This card is about seeing things in the heights and seeing things in the depths as well. Where does all of this fit in together? And it's a process. It's not a straight line, and it's about trying to juggle various things. Where we fit into society, what our role is, but who are we authentically, and how do those things resonate with each other? How do they become harmonious with each other? And yeah, then we have the Lovers card again. Again, this to me is about, yes, Lovers, Gemini energy can be about, Gemini, it can be about making choices. But in this deck, this is really about finding love, like finding true love. And true love, again, does not have to be a romantic thing. It can be something we have in a partnership, potentially. But this is not the only one. This is, the Lovers here is about finding where your heart is. And this is finding real love, not, because a lot of times, love, we might have love of things that are, I don't know, things that are a little more temporal, and I suppose, I mean, that has a place, but like the things we enjoy, like if you enjoy ice cream, or if you enjoy a glass of wine, or if you enjoy this is, or even if you just think that something looks attractive, it's kind of like this is kind of something that's a little bit deeper in that's something that I would want to. Is this considered a sigil? This looks like actually sacred geometry. This looks like what is it called? This looks like a Merkaba, actually. Okay, which, by the way, is the main central symbol used in Rahani, is the Merkaba. This is a version of the Merkaba, is what we're seeing here. But it's also about when you have an upside down triangle, that is the feminine energy. There is a yoni aspect to it too. Yeah, the upside down triangle, the upright triangle is the masculine, because one faces up, one faces down, and it's also how those are merging together. And the Merkaba represents kind of the perfection of that vessel. Yeah, the vessel of that heart space. That's interesting. Azrael used the word vessel with me this morning as well. Friendly to those who are opening themselves up as a vessel. There's this idea of this masculine, feminine. Your masculine and feminine in union with somebody else's masculine and feminine seems to be the way that this is, what this has to do with. But yeah, it's like 2 6-pointed stars. We also think of that as a Star of David, right? Like the 6-pointed star. But that's also known, when you put it in a 3-dimensional space, it's known as a Merkaba, and that is when I do Rahani, that is the symbol that you use in Rahani. Once you've been attuned to it. So, and our outcome here is the 10 of Wands, suppression. Okay, so 10 of Wands again. Saturn vessel. Very good. That's interesting. To look at it that way. Because you were saying like an urn is a vessel, and Saturn, the vessel. The vessel for that wisdom, right? So this is the idea of we don't want to overburden ourselves with other people's stuff. And the suppression card is we don't want to suppress our energy. We were just talking before about people who, everything has to be scheduled and in a box. That's a suppression of your energy, because we need to have time to do all of these things that may be what other people want us to do. So, so it's about getting out of a state of suppression. And the way we get out of a state of suppression is reminding ourselves that, yes, we have a lot of things that we have to do, or there's a lot of things we want to accomplish, but recognizing where we are energetically, recognizing what it means to be in balance for us, and making what we want to contribute here our own priority, our priority. Okay, and and again, that can be different things for different people. Depending on your situation. It doesn't, a lot of times people think of that as kind of a selfish impulse, like, oh, it's just all about you and what you want. No, because let's just say if you have a child and you love that child, then that may be where you feel your energy belongs, right? I mean, that's, being that someone has created and that they're dedicated to that. So it doesn't have to be selfish at all. You could be dedicated to, because with the lovers, part of it is also about connecting with others too, right? And just pulled one of these for today. We have the wintergreen oil card, and our keyword is trust. The trigger statement is, what if something happens? The true statement is, I take my hands off the wheel. You are not alone. The universe is working with you. Relax and enjoy the adventure. That's what our card is here for today. And so you're not, that's the other aspect of it too, I think that's also where the lovers comes in, and the we are the world card. You're also not doing this alone. It's not like whatever you're doing, you have to be Superwoman or Superman and try to carry it all by yourself. That's the other piece of it as well. So lots to think about today, right? Yes, feeling super supported. Yeah, and it's good to feel supported. It's good to feel like you have a network of people who can be there for you. Everybody has a tribe, and as far as what it is you're producing for the world, if you think, oh, well, who's going to care about this? It's like my friend JR says, there's an ass for every seat. There's somebody who's going to be interested in you and what you're doing, and you end up finding the right people. And then in that tribe, you learn about other people, and, some of those aspects may or may not resonate with you, but you learn to connect with other tribes or to find what you have in common. That's something I think we've gotten away from over time. Lots of stuff today. This is what happens when I have when I'm like, talking a lot. Or my mind is talking a lot. So I'm going to go take advantage of this energy. We're at 7:52. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Everybody in the ISFM, you're welcome. I will send the links by Monday morning. I will get everybody registered for intuitive development who's registered by Sunday. Relax. Yes. Yep. You're welcome. Vibe with your tribe. Exactly. And Melissa, yes, I am going to be booking with you. I just didn't have a chance to do it yet. So yes, you're welcome. And I hope you all have a great, what is today? Today is Friday. I didn't even know what day it was. Have a great Friday, and I will see some of you over the weekend and some of you tomorrow morning. So take care, everybody.